Hello, everyone. I'm Gina Stanhope, and welcome to our annual Sellers Panel for 2026. Tech deals in 2025 were truly global, with sellers from New Zealand to Mexico, Canada to Greece, and the USA to Ireland, with all types of buyers, both strategic and financial. Today, we are joined by CEOs that built and sold their companies. Let's start off with a round of introductions.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rick Saramaki, CEO at CDP Communications. I was there for over 30 years, so we convert high volume print streams to PDF and HTML so people can view them on the internet. We have accessibility for those documents and some other products related to that.
My name is Luis Landgrave, and I'm from Mexico. My company is called Algebraics. It's an ed tech and fintech company for private schools in Latam, pretty much, and mostly Mexico.
So my name is Deepak Khosla, the president of XISS, or Excellence in IO Solutions. And we are a managed services company that provides services to people running research and engineering supercomputers.
My name's Chuck Stahl. I'm the former CEO, principal owner of D4M International.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So let's get started with our first question, starting with you, Chuck. How did you learn about Corum, and what was your process for selecting an advisor?
Actually, shortly after acquiring the company, I had gotten an email from Corum about a webinar specifically talking about valuations, and that intrigued me. My initial goal was just to learn about valuations, and I liked the webinar so well, I thought, okay, let's start talking about valuations. And I guess we just hit it off, and I felt very comfortable with Corum, so I really didn't I really didn't go any further. I didn't look for anybody else.
Thanks, Chuck. Now, Rick?
That's a good question. I think I saw something come through the internet. But when I reached out and started talking to Mark, then I found out that you were specifically in the IT business. So we had tried to sell the business with a company that was more of a broad range seller, not specific to IT, and it didn't work.
Thanks, Rick. And Luis, what about you?
The first we heard about Corum was maybe 10 years ago. We started getting contacted by different funds and search funds and PE funds. I don't know if either for investment or possible earnout buyouts. And we weren't ready at all at that point. And Corum contacted us as well. We don't know how they got to us, but they invited us to a seminar in Mexico City. And we went. And it was very interesting. We weren't thinking about selling at the time, but when we started the business, we always thought that would be a great exit. We never thought of this business as a legacy thing for our kids or anything. We always thought about selling as a perfect exit. So once we went to the seminar, we loved it. We got good information. We said, this sounds like something we'll want to do in the future.
Thank you, Luis. Deepak?
I guess if you're asking why I ended up selecting Corum, probably two or three main things. The first one was, we have a services company. I'm an engineer, so I wanted somebody who had a process I could relate to, right? And say, okay, I like some consistency, and it's not just something ad hoc. So that was one. The second one I would say would be the domain knowledge. So we are in this pretty high tech business, and there's a lot of M&A who have never worked in that space. So both being small to mid-size as well as in this high tech, I wanted somebody who kind of knew that space because I knew they could bring more leads or connections to the table. And the last one I would say would be the people themselves. So once I interviewed a couple of times, talked to the people, I just felt like they knew what they were doing, right? And so that I would say those are probably the top three things.
And thank you, Deepak. Moving on to the next question. What was your motivation for going through the M&A process? We'll start with Rick this time.
We were already in the process, so we had done a year and been out to market, We had been cleaning up our act internally, cleaning up our paperwork and everything. But the company that we were dealing with just really wasn't suited to us. They didn't understand what we did. So it was a big deal that you guys were heavily focused on technology companies and fintech type companies. So that's what got us to jump over and fire the other people.
Great. Thanks, Rick. Chuck?
I had companies before, and so I was clear on what I wanted to do, which was build the entity for 3 to 5 years and then sell it.
Thank you, Chuck. And Deepak.
Because we had gotten some feelers and we had been looking, I knew I could not do it by myself, right? I needed somebody to guide me. And because we had never done this, and it's not something that I would have figured if I wanted the best outcome for me, I needed somebody on my side that knew what they were doing. And so that was the reason for.
Excellent. Finally, let's go to Luis.
Our company hit a turning point when we started processing payments. So around 2017, 2018, we started processing payments. Our revenue started growing a lot quicker. We started seeing better numbers, and it was a lot more attractive to a possible buyout or investors. And that's where we started getting more serious about the possibility. We always knew there were certain sweet spots as far as certain milestones and numbers you have to hit to be at a good point for certain buyers. So once we started seeing that as a possibility, we started taking it more seriously. And we had a first contact like in 2021 around the pandemic from a Brazilian company that wanted to buy us, and that was a serious offer. And we actually talked to Corum at that point and said, we already have the buyer, we want to do it, but we don't think the commission fee is right because we already have the buyer. And Corum said, that's a non-negotiable. The fee is always the fee. So we said, okay, thank you. We're going to try to go with it ourselves. And they gave us really good advice before entering the deal. The deal didn't happen. A million things went wrong that usually do. And after that, we said next time we want to do it, we are going to try and do it with Corum and open it up and do a big process, regular process. And that's what we decided to do about 3 years later after that on our own. Yeah.
Next question. During your M&A process, what surprises did you encounter along the way? Luis, let's start with you.
Once we did it hand by hand with Corum, honestly, there weren't that many surprises. We were a lot more educated on the process. We had lived through it once. We've seen all the seminars, digested all the information. We're a lot more ready. So due diligence actually happened within 3 months, 90 days, which was the goal. And it was a lot smoother sailing for the deal part for sure.
Thanks, Luis. Now, Rick?
One of the surprises may be that we're not used to selling ourselves. We're used to selling our products. So that's always a weird thing to be selling yourself. But a lot of it is new. When you sell, a lot of it is new.
Great. Thanks, Rick. Now to Deepak.
But I think what was interesting was that Jeff kind of started giving heads up on when what I thought was a surprise was something, hey, this is pretty normal and this is just part of negotiation. So I don't think we had any major, I think it was pretty well we were able to anticipate kind of what was happening, and we had ended up with the selection buyer also kind of was pretty connected with us, so that helped.
Thank you, Deepak. And Chuck?
Plenty of surprises along the way. I was glad that we started early with the process. I was surprised at the number of NDAs I had signed, probably 50 or 60. And then I think going through the process, I was surprised there wasn't an obvious buyer who's like, oh yeah, this is it. We want to buy you guys. And then it was great. Due diligence took longer than anticipated. The amount of data was much more substantial than I had anticipated. And I was told this by many people, including Corum, that it's going to be a rigorous and painful process, and just hang in there, and you're going to get tired of it. And there's just a lot of negotiation back and forth that I didn't anticipate.
What additional knowledge do you wish you had before, during, or after the process? We'll start with Chuck again.
I think the biggest thing was centered around valuations, because I had been through this before and I had an idea of what the valuation structure should be. But at the end of the day, your company is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. And so I would say put more effort into valuation discussions, research along those lines.
Great. Thanks, Chuck. Now, Deepak?
Nothing major. It's just a few things here and there.
Thank you, Deepak. Luis?
In our case, I think right now we're having a little bit of issue with the transition of actually working with the company, and we want to really focus on our earnouts, and they want us to focus on a bunch of other stuff, and we've been hearing from other people in similar situations that that's kind of typical. So maybe have some requirements clearer there as far as to what we are going to do.
Excellent. Finally, let's go to Rick.
It does always take a little bit longer for sure. And some of the things do cost a little bit more. So I would say the lawyers and accountants know that you're not a repeat business and they hit you with bills. I probably should have seen that coming or talked to some people, but you're not a repeat business. You're gone after that. So everything else was pretty smooth though, really.
Now, lastly, what advice would you give to CEOs selling their company? Deepak, let's begin with you.
Get an advisor. Right. I would not do this without an advisor.
Thank you, Deepak. Now over to Rick.
It's a difficult process, but you definitely need to have somebody that dulls some of the sharper edges a little bit.
Thank you, Rick. And Luis, what about you?
I would say, especially if you have partners, that's not something I had a hard time with because we have a pretty good relationship with a partner and we talk very transparently about things. But making sure you're in tune and you have a good common plan as to what your objectives are and what you want to reach, because it's a true roller coaster of emotions. Once you start negotiating and things you thought weren't that important or that were completely off the table, and then once they're on and off and negotiating happens, emotionally you have to be pretty centered and neutral and ready to have shifts in the deal making, and that can really affect that part. And that as far as emotionally and just making sure you have a good plan with your business partner. And besides that, I would say getting all your reporting and numbers in order before you start dealing. Like we had done a good amount of that with Corum, but once the LOI and the offer started coming in from that one company, we didn't have everything perfect, so it created a lot of reporting and financial work that could have been done with a little more timing and less pressure. So the more prepared you are, the easier the process will be. They'll still ask for a million things you think shouldn't be necessary, but they'll be less painful, I think, the more prepared you are.
Thanks, Luis. Chuck?
Know that that's what you want to do, because it is a lot of work and it's pretty tumultuous. But at the end of the day, if you decide that's what you want to do, then make all of your decisions based upon building value and make that your guiding principle.
Great insights, everybody. Thank you, Deepak, Luis, Rick, and Chuck. We appreciate you being with us today to talk about your M&A experience. Corum was honored to help each of you achieve the optimal outcome for your companies.